97.3 ESPN presents The Sports Bash with Mike Gill. It's time for Football at 4 with Adam Caplan, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast.
We expect to win every time we step on the field. That's just the mindset and the culture that we have.
Now, live from inside the Matt Black Kia Studios, it's Football at 4.
Football at 4, powered by the Inside the Birds podcast and brought to you by PlaySugarHouse.com. Sign up now. They'll match your first deposit up to $250. Go to PlaySugarHouse.com. Win real money for their sports bucks from their sports book with casino games from the comfort of your home. Must be 21 or older to play. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Adam Caplan from the Inside the Birds podcast is today's Football at 4 guest. And, of course, he, like all guests, appear via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. Among some of the things we want to get into today with Adam Caplan include a surprise, maybe not such a surprise if you've been listening to Football at 4. Adam Caplan has said Alshon Jeffery hoping to get back in the month of September. Does that mean he will be active on Sunday? Let's first start there, Adam, because everybody's buzzing with Reagor out. A new face was back, and that was Alshon Jeffery. You have been saying they'd hope to get him back in September. Does that mean there's a chance he could play this Sunday?
Yeah, I'd say outside chance. I doubt it, Mike. So in my reporting on this, I'd heard pretty strongly that he would be back within the first 6 weeks. I heard that probably early August, and that he would not be on the reserve physically unable to perform list. And that's exactly what happened with the outside chance he'd be able to return in November. Well, here we go. There's a chance, but I just can't see a way that they're going to do this, considering today's his first practice in over 9 months. Tomorrow's a very light practice, just over an hour. They're in jerseys and helmets. They're not wearing pads, and I just find it hard to believe that they would do this. Though I am told he's in really good physical shape, but that's not football shape. You don't know that until you actually get him out in the field. Then the other thing is they're going to see how the foot responds to his first practice time. Tomorrow, how does he wake up? How does it feel? Then they'll go from there. But I just researched this 2 years ago when he was coming back from rotator cuff surgery. His first week was at Tennessee in week 4, and he did practice the previous week. So I think better chance at the Niners in Santa Clara next week. But the fact of the matter is, with Jalen Reagor not playing, I'm told he's going to have surgery on that thumb, the UCL. It's the same one that Drew Brees had a couple years ago. The Eagles expected to miss at least 6 weeks. And the crazy thing is the timing, because Reagor was filling in for Jeffery at the X position. Now Jeffrey's back at his X position, but who knows when he'll be able to play. But the good thing is he's back, and I do believe he has a real shot if he has no setbacks to play next week.
Okay, so if Reagor's out this week, he is out this week, and sure, Jeffery is not going to play, which is likely, what does the wide receiver rotation setup look like?
Yeah, even if Alshon's able to play a limited role, be the X position, I don't expect him, if he does play, to play a lot of snaps, very limited. But that's a good question. Right now, they do have Deontay Burnett, who I'm almost certain they would add from the practice squad. They protected him so no one could sign him off the practice squad this week, one of their 4 protected players. So he's more of an X player. I don't know if they would even have a natural X. Other than J.J. Arcega-Whiteside's the guy that was drafted to replace Jeffery, you might remember last year, and it has not quite worked out that well for him, but he probably would play the most at X, and what's going to happen is John Hightower was benched last week. He only played 7 snaps. He probably would have to play more snaps, and obviously Deshaun Jackson is their Z, and Greg Ward is the slot receiver, and that's kind of it. I mean, if Alshon doesn't play, they'll have 4 that are available, plus Burnett they would add from their practice squad. So that's really it, guys. It would be a little bit of a challenge for them against the Bengals. I know the Bengals' defense isn't very good, but it's not good when you don't have a lot of receivers. But remember, the Eagles are running the most 12 personnel, the most 2 tight end sets in the National Football League. They did it last week, and they did it last year.
Do you think someone like John Hightower could step in and have a bigger role during this absence of wide receivers?
Yeah, Hunter, yeah. So as I was saying, I do believe he'll get a reprieve this week. He clearly was benched, and here's what happened. First week, he did not play well, had a very bad drop. It just goes to show you that you got to be careful when a guy has a great training camp. That's all it is. I've likened this to like minor league baseball going to Major League Baseball, trying to hit the fastball. He didn't hit the fastball very well in week 1, and he only played 7 snaps last week. So they're not going to have a choice here. He's got to play. I mean, he really does, and he can run, and he's got a pretty good football IQ. He's going to have to do it. They don't have anywhere else to turn here. They didn't sign anyone to their. It's not like they signed a veteran receiver. They added Robert Green, who was with them last year. They worked him out, I'm told, this week, and he's back on the practice squad. But they have what they have, and again, we're going to see a lot of 2 receiver, 2 tight ends this week.
12 personnel, about 80% of the snaps last week, and obviously you just mentioned the wide receiver situation. Is this going to look a lot like the last 4 weeks when, voila, Carson Wentz played pretty well?
Yeah, so that's what they did, Mike. You're right. The final 4 weeks last year, it was almost exclusively two receivers, 2 tight ends. So now last year we know why they had to do it, because they were basically using 4 receivers who were not on the active roster in week 1 last year versus Washington. So, yeah, you've got Deshaun, you've got Hightower, you've got Greg Ward, who they do like. You've got some options in Arcega-Whiteside, but this is where Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert become very, very important to this football team. And the Bengals are beat up. One of their safeties, Sean Williams, is their starting strong safety, but he's missed the first 2 games. And this also gives them their opportunity to continue that run game, which is Miles Sanders was really good last week. And the Bengals were without 2 of their top 3 D tackles last week. So I think there are going to be certain advantages the Eagles are going to have against the Bengals defense.
You read my mind. I was going to bring up Miles Sanders and running the ball because I thought Doug did do a good job at running it. And maybe this gives them an opportunity to run it more. So I'll go down this road. Is it possible you see more of Jalen Hurts in certain packages just based off of this scenario?
Well, that's a good question. That one was a surprise. I got to tell you, that one caught me. In fact, I give the Eagles credit. They kept a little on that. It was not reported before the game, and we're doing the week. They were going to do that. So, yeah, I do. That just gives the defense something else to think about. Now, obviously, the 3 plays that he got, that's on tape now. So every team that plays the Eagles now, they know what they can do with it. Now, the Eagles might try it differently. They may actually try it in their own 20-yard line instead of being in the opponent's area. So, yeah, this gives them a different look. He did line up tackling as a receiver for 2 plays and then in the backfield for 1. This definitely gives them a different look. And it's fascinating. How about Nate Sudfeld being inactive? So think about it. If Carson Wentz got hurt, Hurts would have taken over, which is not something that anyone really saw this early.
Yep, we're talking with Adam Caplan from the Inside the Birds podcast. And, it's interesting because it sounded like Doug was pressed on that a little bit, and he gave a no and no, whether or not he was kind of forced into activating Jalen Hurts. Do you think that Hurts has won that role, or are they just trying to justify getting him in that second round? They need him on the field.
Yeah, I don't think he's won that role. I just know where he ended training camp, and he was a real far way away. But it was a gamble, one that I still don't quite understand why they did it that way and not have Sudfeld active. Just in case Wentz got hurt, I think it would be a gamble for the Eagles to do this. Look, let's put it this way. If they do the same thing this week, then it's very clear to us that Hurts is now the number 2 quarterback, and Nate Sudfeld is the 3. In fact, by the way, in my reporting in the spring, the Eagles actually were very deep into talks with Joe Flacco to be their number 2 quarterback, but they were concerned with the fact that he would not be ready for the start of the season. Joe Flacco's got a real shot this week. He's actually taking full practices this week for the Jets.
Gil mentioned Doug's answer of no and no, and I just want to get your thoughts on, Doug to the media over the last week or so, and it ties into Carson Wentz's issues, I would imagine. It does seem like there is this sense of frustration based off of it not being executed properly, the game plan that is, and just, I don't know, a sense, a weird vibe that we're not accustomed to when it comes to Doug Pederson. So what are your thoughts on that?
Totally, and I saw the same thing. I actually mentioned this on our show that I think dropped. Yeah, actually, our show that dropped on Wednesday, Hunter. This is probably the first time since Doug Pederson's been here, and this is his 5th year, that he doesn't have to say the player's name. When he was asked Monday about the regression of Carson, he didn't even say, "Wait a minute, he hasn't regressed." He actually addressed the question and didn't deny that he's regressed, which was kind of shocking. I was almost surprised. I want to make sure I heard that correctly, so I read the transcript after I saw it live. And this is now, of course, a Wednesday, he had a little bit of a different tune, and maybe someone got in his ear. But you know what? I get it, because he impressed Taylor coaching this guy, and Carson's got to take the coaching. There's something seriously going on with the messaging that they're giving him, because he seems to be doing his own thing with his mechanics, and that certainly is a big issue right now.
All right, so what are you hearing and what are you seeing with his inaccuracy? What are some of the issues that Wentz has had in these first couple of weeks? And are you noticing anything different from these 2 weeks to the end of last year?
Yeah, Mike, he is – okay, let's start with his front foot. This is probably the biggest issue with their offense right now. Not only is it Wentz, but his mechanics. He is locking his front left foot. That is his plant leg because he's a right-handed quarterback, and that causes the ball to sail. He's not getting good balance. He's not getting a good knee bend. He's also drifting away from throws. We've actually addressed that on the Inside the Birds pregame shows. You could actually see that with myself and Moshe, Jeff Moshe, of course, and Greg Cosell and Trey Thomas. We all addressed it. We're going to address it again on the Sunday show, which starts at 10 a.m. I mean, Mike, it's a real problem right now. I've never seen his mechanics this off. And again, I still think that Carson is not just taking the coaching like he should. This is a big problem. The inaccuracy stuff started last year. It wasn't so bad, I'm told, in 18. Occasional stuff, but nothing alarming. In fact, his accuracy number went up 9%, which is almost unheard of from 17 to 18. But that is partial, I'm told, because he was not making big, challenging throws downfield. A lot of intermediate to shorter throws. And you saw week one, a lot of the downfield throws, two of them were really good. One was to Rager, and the other one was to Rager, where Rager stopped running, where that was on Rager. But last week, the shorter throws, he was way off. I mean, I've not seen it like this because he's not in balance. His footwork, Mike, is not good. So when you guys watch the game, on Sunday versus the Bengals, and you could see this on TV. Often you can't see this stuff, but if you slow it down, you could see it. His footwork was way off, and that's got to get better.
I'm just trying to look at this from all angles and come up with the reason why this is happening. So I'll throw this to you. Is it possible he's being taught the wrong things?
No. He's that's not the issue, Hunter. No, coaches know what they're doing. Is he taking the message? And clearly he's doing some stuff on his own. As one league source said to me, he's clearly freelance off coaching tape. Like, that's what he's doing. No quarterback is told to move off your spot and drop off a little bit. The issues with his mechanics are not taught. No one teaches that way. He's just doing it on his own, which you can't do. And Carson needs to be coached hard, and he needs to be told, like, no, this is the way we do it, and do it our way. And that's something that Doug Pederson and Rich Scangarello, who's a little bit more involved this year, obviously, because he's new to it, and he's part of the plan, and obviously Press Taylor's with him the most. He's got to listen to the messaging a little bit better if he's going to get better.
How much of this, and it has been come up, as the injuries start catching up to you? I mean, the knee injury, the concussions. I mean, he's been hurt a lot. How much of that is that you get a little gun shy when even if the pressure's not coming at you? I mean, the stat that somebody threw out about his inaccuracies, he's got 20. The most passes, 20, and 15 of those passes have come with not under duress. So does that suggest that the injuries are still kind of in the back of his mind?
Mike, it's a fair question, but I don't think so. I do know that Ron Jaworski always told me that the more you get hit, the more you worry about what's happening around you. But their offense, Mike, here's the thing. The offensive line was terrific last week. They were awful week one, really good last week. No, I just think that it's his footwork. He's trying to do too much. The term is hero ball. He's trying to be a hero and make these, and he's trying to do things on his own, which he's not taught. And he's got to be aware that keep your feet set. If you're in the pocket, keep your feet set. You could throw off balance as long as you line yourself up, your feet correctly. And he has not done that. It was hard to watch him last week. There were some things that were better than week one, but man, they shortened up the game plan. I don't know if you noticed this. They were not throwing downfield mostly because they wanted to help Carson get accurate. And as you pointed out, and it's true, he was missing on short throws, which is not like him, and it's all for mechanics, and this has got to be corrected, and I'm sure it is.
Okay, you mentioned what's going on around him. The line played better, but the line's going to have a third different look this week, it looks like. Why the flip-flopping of the guards? I mean, isn't this the same group of coaches that say, we don't like to move multiple pieces? They ended the game with Herbig at right, Pryor at left. This week it looks like they're going to flip-flop.
Well, here's the thing. Matt Pryor, they did what they did in game because of what happened at the other guard spot. So Matt Pryor's better off at right guard than left guard. There's no question about it. Herbig really, it's interesting because they got Jamon Brown, who they are eventually going to play. It's a matter of is it going to be this week or is it going to be against the Niners? So look, you've got four guys. It's really interesting. They've got four guards for two spots. You don't want to be trying guys out in week 3. That's not the way you do it. But because of all these injuries, and Isaac Seumalo now is the one who's going to be out for several weeks. Not only is it going to be 3 weeks, my sense is with his knee injury, it's going to be longer than that. So Jamon Brown's the guy, guys. This is the key here. He's got to work with the ones, and Moshe and I will have that for our show on Sunday. Who's been working with the ones, but they only have today. Tomorrow is a really light work. It's got to be Wednesday and Thursday to get those work with the ones, and it's really interesting. This is not something they've ever done before, but I don't want to call it a tryout, but they certainly are working guys at different positions.
What do you think about the creativity or the play calling from Doug Pederson? I mean, is that something that you think's an issue with why the offense isn't more productive, or do you not have a problem with Doug and the play design and the play call?
You know what? Here's my issue. I thought they were going to get more creative and different and innovative, kind of like San Francisco's concepts and Rams concepts. The Rams concept them to death last week. They embarrassed their defense. I thought they would come out and they had Carson rolling a little bit, but I'm not just talking that. Ghost motion, reverses, tunnel screens, all sorts of stuff. Their screen game has been non-existent for over a year pretty much. But Miles Sanders, by the way, I mean, he had 7 pass targets. Carson missed him a couple times, one in particular. But I don't. It should be because of the guard changes. These guys know the offense. They got to start rolling here, Mike. It's a really good point. And it's one issue that I think they have not solved. I know it's only 2 games, so you don't want to go off the deep end here. But we're expecting some different stuff. That's why they made so many coaching changes. And by the way, we have yet to see it.
How much of that do you think is – because I lean towards what you're saying. I thought there would be more creativity involved, and I was thinking about this yesterday. Does the 12 personnel set and being so heavy on 12 personnel, does that play a role in that?
Yeah, but you can with 2 tight ends keep shifting and motioning those guys. You can just shift them right side, left side. You could split out Goddard, who, by the way, is a better athlete than Zach Ertz. Ertz is maybe the NFL's best route runner tight end. But you could do some stuff. See, this is what the Eagles told me when they drafted Goddard. They thought they could do some innovative things with both, but Goddard has had so many injuries, minor though, mostly minor, but he looks good. He was tremendous, best game as a professional week 1. So that's something, Hunter, to watch against this bad Bengals secondary in particular. They're going to have opportunities. This is a great week to start getting these guys moving. I'll tell you what, if they don't do some good stuff this week, you got to start questioning the play calling here because there's no reason not to do it against a bad defense.
It's funny. It's like the chicken or the egg thing. It's like, are they not creative enough on offense? Or if Carson Wentz just simply makes a couple of pitches and catches, we're not having this conversation.
Well, yeah, and obviously his accuracy would be way up. But again, if you're watching the game closely, they're not doing anything that we haven't seen before. That's the point here. And it's kind of surprising to me. I know it's only 2 games. They've got 14 regular season games left, but you definitely want to see some stuff that we were promised would happen. And I know Jeffrey Lurie, the owner, was involved in this. He was part of it, I'm told, that he wanted to see some things that other teams were doing. And they've yet to be doing it. I'm sure they're going to, but it's yet to happen.
All right. We've gotten this far in the conversation and haven't really got on the defense that didn't play all that well last week either. Yeah. Now, I thought Brandon Graham said something interesting today. Everybody's going after Schwartz. Schwartz basically said, I take the blame. And Graham says, I thought we were going to get cussed out because we were horrible, and he went up there and took the blame for us. Now we really want to go out there and play for this guy. Yeah. So was the defense concerning, and should we – and we thought this defensive line was going to be great. We thought the secondary was better. We know the linebackers were weak, but I don't know. Through 2 weeks, what do we see from this defense?
Yeah, and the problem is Fletcher Cox is very questionable to play with his abdomen injury. This is not good, but – yeah, look, they got schemed to death last week. It was probably the worst that Schwartz's defense, from just a consistency standpoint, they were awful last week. The only time they were good, and this is where they were really good, when Goff rolled back and was not moved, their line pushed them. Their line actually dominated for about 12 to 15 plays, I'm told. But the problem is because Sean McVay knew exactly what the Eagles were going to do. The Eagles played strictly man coverage. It was the most man coverage, I'm told, they played since the first 2 weeks have been the most man coverage since Schwartz has been here. And it's probably going to take them, guys, a little bit longer for this defense to figure it out. Nate Gary had his worst game, I'm told, as an Eagle. He just was confused. So was Avonte Maddox, and Rodney McLeod made some mistakes. Brandon Gray made some mistakes. These are all smart, really smart football players. They just were out of position because they were out-schemed, and you got to give Sean McVay credit. And look, the Bengals come in here with a lot of talent on offense. Their line is awful, probably the NFL's worst offensive line. But to answer your question, I think this is even if Cox doesn't play, they should have their way against an awful offensive line. They've got one good lineman, their left tackle, Jonah Williams. The Bengals' left tackle is really talented. But other than that, they really, really struggle. They have not played well so far.
All right, Adam Caplan, the Inside the Birds podcast. Make sure you guys are making that a regular routine. And, of course, the Inside the Birds pregame show. It's 10 o'clock. Facebook, you can check that out. And, of course, at Caplan NFL to find out all things Inside the Birds. And he, like all guests, appeared via the Boardwalk Honda hotline. Thank you, Adam.
Guys, thank you.